Chemicals are everywhere in the lives of Europeans. In industrial processing, construction materials, agriculture, or in everyday items such as paints, sprays, cleaning products or motor oils. Tough new EU rules now ensure that chemicals are safe for consumers and the environment. The end of 2008 is the deadline for pre-registering all the chemicals that companies produce, import or use. The new regime, known as REACH, for the registration, evaluation, authorization and restriction of chemicals, puts the onus on companies which have to show that their products are safe. Europe's citizens can now be confident that chemicals in Europe are fully controlled. As financial markets around the world crashed, the European Union brought together its member states and institutions to find a joint response to the crisis. Special crisis summits of EU leaders helped forge a common programme. Working in unison, EU governments pumped more than €2 trillion into coordinated rescue efforts. They supported banks. They provided guarantees for lending. They raised protection levels for people's savings accounts to a minimum of €50,000. They maintained a flow of affordable credit for businesses and households. And the euro provided an anchor for Europe amid the turmoil. The problem also demanded global solutions, and the EU was central to discussions on international action in New York, Camp David or Beijing.
This is a global financial crisis that requires global solutions.
There are more and more temporary agency workers in the EU, in construction, manufacturing and services. But their rights have often been neglected by employers. They received less pay, or fewer holidays, or no maternity leave. This year, the EU has given them similar rights to permanent employees. Temporary workers supplied through agencies will now get equal treatment, normally from the day they start their assignments. The EU approach will give them the same rest periods and training opportunities and access to canteens, creches or transport services. Toys are not playthings when it comes to safety. This year, the EU started modernising its 20-year-old rules on toys. New controls on the materials used in toys will ban cancer-causing chemicals and reduce the content of harmful substances such as lead or mercury. Safety information will also have to be supplied with toys carrying any risk. Already, toys containing tiny magnets are now required to carry labels warning against the risk of swallowing them. And the EU has insisted that safety must be central to the culture of toy manufacturers. A message directed particularly at China, where so many of the toys in the EU come from. People with reduced mobility will no longer have to suffer discrimination when they fly. From this year, the disabled and the elderly have easier access to air transport. The EU now demands the same access for them as all the other passengers enjoy, and at no additional cost. European airports have to provide services all the way to and from the boarding gate. The long distances passengers often have to walk in modern airports have been a handicap to more than 25% of Europe's citizens. Airlines flying from EU airports have to allow disabled passengers to board the plane with their guide dogs or other necessary equipment. The new rules respond to the needs of a growing section of Europe's population. In 2008, the EU intervened to support stability, deliver humanitarian and reconstruction aid, undertake peace monitoring missions, and observe elections around the world. Its expert teams worked in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. In Cambodia, Bhutan, Nepal, Pakistan, Rwanda, Angola, and Ecuador, they worked alongside governments and non-governmental organizations to help ensure free and fair elections. This on-the-spot EU input helps ensure that elections are transparent and efficiently prepared, reducing intimidation, electoral fraud, or media bias. So voters can participate in confidence, and countries can take further steps towards greater stability. Global warming has to be tackled, but no one wants to stifle the economy or to reduce the quality of life. The EU's climate change policy brings a new answer. It targets harmful emissions but maintains supplies of energy. By 2020, it will cut greenhouse gases by 20%, save 20% of energy through greater efficiency, and meet 20% of its needs from renewable energy. This can be done without sacrificing growth. EU employment and exports are rising fast in sectors like renewable energy or high-technology transport. In this way, Europe is showing the lead, keeping the lights on without risking the planet's health. Eating habits are formed early in life. That's why the EU has expanded its scheme providing milk to school children. In primary and secondary schools across Europe, children can enjoy subsidized milk, yogurt, or cheese. A daily dose of calcium and minerals not only provides an immediate health boost, it also gives children a taste for a wider range of dairy products and promotes a healthy diet. It is just one of the many ways the EU encourages healthy lifestyles. Through food, consumer behavior, sport, and education. It is quite literally all hands to the pump when major fires strike in Europe. EU countries are now routinely pooling their resources to ensure a better response. A new coordination mechanism allows them to share men and equipment in the face of natural and man-made disasters. Fighting forest fires has been a key focus in 2008, with pilot projects and training exercises to combat this increasingly common summer challenge.
I'm convinced that
cooperation between EU countries also improves protection and relief for flooding, industrial chemical accidents, or marine pollution, and stretches across to relieve victims of earthquakes in China and Kyrgyzstan, or of Haiti's hurricane and Myanmar's cyclone. Have you ever wondered where all the EU funding goes? Now you can find out. The EU launched an easy-to-use information service during 2008 to allow the public to see clearly how EU funds are spent. This web-based database gives direct access to information on which organisations benefit from EU money. The system covers all the funds managed directly by the Commission in research, education and culture, energy and transport, as well as on aid provided to non-EU countries. With the same objective of providing information, all EU governments are also going to publish information on payments they've made under the EU's agricultural and regional policy.